And Transformation Show recording is now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transformations with Carly and Rick. Straight talk about life, business, and spirituality. Well, I'm Rick, and right next to me over here is Carly. Hey, Carly, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. And we've got a very interesting and fun guest today. Do you want to introduce her? Want me to introduce her?
I think you should do the honors.
Okay, I'm going to. Now, she's got a very extensive resume, so I'm just going to do some really small highlights because we'd be here for a long time talking about all the things that she's done. But with us today is Dr. Mary C. Kelly. She was a commander in the U.S. Navy. She is a leadership expert, a consultant, a public speaker, an author. She's written some very good books. I'm actually reading one of them right now and having a very good time with the book. And, well, without further ado, let's introduce Mary C. Kelly. Hey, Mary, how are you today?
Hey, Rick and Carly, thanks for having me here today.
Oh, our pleasure. Thanks for being here. And one of the things we're going to talk about is something that very few people actually talk about, and that is the subject of really conscious business collaboration, something that just nobody really gets into. But, you know, when you work with businesses and you work with people, I think you bring this up in your book, and it's such a good point, it's all about trust. If you establish trust with people, the relationship is built on a much different thing than somebody who just wants the money. Very, very different way of approaching your customers. And I know in our business, we've had very long-term customers where nobody lasts more than 2 years, and we've been there 12 already, and, you know, knock on wood. But and it's about trust. It's about trust, relationships, and, of course, providing a good service. How do you approach the concept of conscious business collaboration, trust, and establishing those relationships?
Well, there's two ways, and thanks for that question. First, I have to tell you, Rick and Carly, that when I was in the military, we believe people when they say something. Your word truly is your bond in the military, and a verbal order is considered just as strong as a written order. So an order is an order, whether it's verbal or written down. So when I started the migration into the business world, it was interesting to me that there were many people who were very strict on needing a contract or have to have a contract. And I was a little bit befuddled and probably a little bit naive because I said, you know, if I need a contract in order to do business with someone, then I probably shouldn't be doing business with that person. If we can't make it work with a handshake, then we probably don't have that element of trust. And I realize it sounds very naive, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have contracts. Contracts are there to protect both sides. But from my perspective, my word is just as good as a contract. So if I say I'm going to show up at a given time, I'm going to be there, and I expect other people to do the same. So trust, I think, is very, very important when you're doing business with anybody. But the other part of that is I call it collaborative cooperation. So for a while, I was making my living as an editor. I like to write. I like to edit. And my clients, every single one of them, 100% of my clients, all came from my competitors who were doing very, very large jobs. And what I said was, you know, I want you to be able to tell your clients yes. So when someone comes in and says, we've got this small job, and it's way too small for you, go ahead and just give them my business card, and I will do the job, and then I will let you know that they came in, and I'll give you a little thank you, a little referral fee. 100% of my business came from this, and these people should have been my biggest competitors, but instead they were my closest collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that I don't know if you've seen my graphic. I always do trilogies in terms of my courses, Passionate Communications. conscious business collaborations for me has been a huge, vital component in my life, in all aspects of my life. And what you said is so vitally important, like the 4 agreements, my word is law. I'm exactly like you when it comes to that. And I actually do a lot of business without contracts because the people that I deal with have the same mindset of my word is law. And as you know, I had my knee replacement and I had an interview and I could have canceled the interview. I didn't know the exact date of my surgery yet. I did my interview from the hospital room because I was committed. I told the woman I would do the interview. She already had booked me 3 to 6 months to get into this interview. And then all of a sudden my surgeon calls and says, well, we're doing it this day. Choice, cancel the interview, or even though I was just at the very beginning of recovering from my surgery and still in the hospital, do the interview. And I did do the interview. So people know that they ask something from me, if I say I'm going to do it, and there's a time and a commitment to it, they don't need a contract. They know I'm going to do it. And to the highest degree of my authenticity and of giving and of value and really coming through for them.
But you know, it's almost a strange concept in today's day and age to say my word is my contract. It's rarer to find that. I mean, the first thing you hit with most companies is the legal department. And it's so hard to get through the legal department sometimes. You may have a relationship with the people you work with, and they don't care if you have a contract. You're always going to have to deal with those legal people and everything else more often than not. But it's so true that if you, I think, approach everyone and everything from a values perspective, that you respect their values, they respect your values, and you realize that there's a commonality there that when word is given, it's given. It makes for a very different relationship, I think, from the get-go. And it makes for that kind of long-term relationship because they do feel they can trust you. And they feel that, they don't, I heard once years ago that, good paper makes good friends. Yeah, to a point. I guess it just keeps friends from misinterpreting. But if you look at the average contract, oh my gosh, they're so nailed down tight, you just go, okay. Or they're so vague that it doesn't really matter.
And that's, I think that's an important point, Rick. And I think that when we work in the business world, that many people think, they have a misperception, I think, of a lot of business people, that you're just out for the buck or that you're greedy or whatever. But the reality that I have found is when I am working with someone, and these are people I want to work with. And I should caveat that by saying that I don't work with people I don't trust and people I don't like. Now, I love people who are different from me. That's a whole different category. But if someone says, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, and we quickly realize that our values are not aligned, then I offer to refer them to someone else because I'm never going to be able to do for them what I do for the people that I like, I trust. So our values have to be aligned. They don't have to be the same, but they have to be aligned. And the other part of that is when I take on a client, or if I go do a speech somewhere, or I'm going to go work with clients, I make a lot of effort to make sure that what I do for them is exactly what they need, beyond what they've asked for, beyond what they want. I want to make sure that I over-deliver for them by putting their best interests first. And I think that's what a lot of people lose in business, is if you are really looking to serve other people with your business and do for them what you know they need, what they truly want, then I don't think you have any misalignment.
No, and that's so key because the alignment part of it is good. I mean, we have fired billion-dollar corporations, and people go, "You fired us?" I go, "Yeah." You know what? It's not working, and it's not that you're bad or we're bad or the work's not getting done right. You're hard to work with, and you're at the point it's not worth working with you. And they look at you like, "Well, we don't want you to leave." I go, "No, you know what? It's not going to work." Like you said.
I'm right there with you. I walked away from the world's largest retailer. I called my dad on the flight home, and I said, "Dad, I think I just walked away from the world's largest retailer." And my dad goes, "Good job."
Good job.
It's true, though. Too many people, they want the money. So they sacrifice their values. They sacrifice their core beliefs because they're so and that's the thing, the desperation energy of need, instead of like what you both are just talking about is the value that you want to provide for a client. Well, I can't give that value to a client if I don't believe in the same values or their structural systems and belief systems and all that, because I'm not going to be in alignment. And eventually what happens is is the underlying, the unconscious resentment starts to build, and then you're not giving quality service because you're starting to get angry, you're starting to go, they're a pain in the butt or whatever. You really start to feel these things. And so underneath with all the resentments going on, you're not going to be giving them the quality service that I personally want to give to every client that I have.
That's exactly right. And keep in mind, I'm an economist. I am a crystal ball carrying hardcore economist, and I believe businesses should do well and make money. Mm-hmm. But I also believe that the reason to make money is so that you can do good in the world. So I'm very much into your business should be as wildly successful as possible. But you also have to understand your resolutions, what you want out of your life, and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do.
And that goes back to also what you were just saying, which I find really important too, is the terminology differences between affluence and bringing economy or money into yourself, into the world, is the giving part. People misuse or misinterpret the word giving. They feel if they give massive value, they're being undervalued in some way, and they're not going to get their return because they think that they're giving too much, or they may be taken advantage if they give too much.
Wait, no,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's interesting. One of our biggest clients, and they are probably our biggest client right now, came out as a result of a 3-hour free consulting thing. We got a call from a company we work with, and they said, "Can you help these guys? We don't know what we're doing." I said, "Okay, sure." I gave a call to this one person. She was a management trainee, and from that call, literally probably over $10 million in business has arrived. It was 3 hours of free. We expected literally zero out of this. We just said, sure, we'll help out another friend who needed some help. Got the problem resolved. That person talked to her manager, and she goes, "Who helped you?" "Well, it was these guys from a company called Relate." And they go, "Really? How much did they charge?" They didn't. "I want to work with them." And that turned into a flight out to meet them. And from there, and they're one of the world's largest companies. And they just couldn't believe that we didn't do that. And in every business, what you're saying, it really is, everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to eat. There's no reason why you can't have good things in life. But you've got to give and take. I mean, not everything is. We have done a lot of free work for them. We've done a lot of paid work. And sometimes you'll say, "You know what, don't worry about it. We'll just do this. We'll handle it for you." Because it's only fair in that respect that, they're doing for you, you do for them, and everybody's pretty happy.
That's exactly right. And I truly do believe that if you've got their best interests at heart, you're not going to nickel and dime them, and they're not going to nickel and dime you.
No,
it's true, and that goes back to the values. I really find that when you work with people who have the same values, they are. And the other thing I think with the economy, and I'm sure you can address this, Mary, is I know a lot of people like set fees. This is my direct speaking fee. This is my direct booking fee for this, that, or the other. And I have found through the years, and especially as you living in Hawaii, I treat every client as a unique individual, and I work with all economic statuses, meaning I know some of my clients can't afford what some of my other clients are paying, yet I still give them the same value in terms of what service I'm giving them. Except I've really come to realize with the economy that you can't be so fixed or fixated on a certain price point. And I usually, mine is balance. I have some things where I have done full pay, smaller front end, bigger back end, the reverse of that. I've even done some things where it's been part barter and part pay. And it's been really fast, and without contracts. And it's been really fascinating when I've done that, how much other business I've gotten because of that. So I think it partially it's balance. It's having the open mind. And again, key is working with people that have the same values.
Now, Mary, when you talk to clients, do you find that initially they're probably taken aback by your approach?
Yes and no. I make it very clear from the onset that there are certain things that are of value to me. So I had a conversation just this morning where someone said, they want me to come in and do some work for them, and they always ask about the fee. And I know it's a hard conversation for them too, how much do you cost? And I said, I have a fee program, and if you tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for, I can help you do that. And he says, well, I've just got to have a number. And I said, here's the number. And there was a pause, and he goes, oh, I said, again, this is why I have a fee program. For example, that number may not work for you, but there's other things you can do that provide value to me. So, for example, and Carly, I think you know this about me, but I'm a big fan of animals, dogs, cats, everything. I'm currently the head coach in OIC of the Air Force Academy's equestrian team. It's a volunteer job. And I like to donate money and raise money for animal rescue groups. So, for example, I did the thing this morning, the conversation this morning. He was asking about this, and I said, do you have any kind of philanthropic budget? And he said, what? And I said, so for example, if you can come up with this amount of money for my service, that's half of what I normally do. But if you've got a philanthropic arm and you give me the check for one of these charities, so I use animal groups, I use the Wounded Warriors, I use some orphanages out of Southeast Asia. There's a fund for that. I said, if you can write me a check, and it can be 3 checks, to any of these organizations, we've got a deal. So it helps them by supporting what they want to support anyway. My favorite charities get funding that I know they guard that money very carefully, and they're very careful with how they spend it. And that way they feel as though they got a good deal. I'm certainly happy. Everybody's happy. So I always try to look for the end result, what is in their best interests, and how can that be aligned with what is going to be a win-win for everybody. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And it's one of those that everybody wins, everybody's happy, and there's no resentment that you had to lower your rates if you didn't want to.
Correct.
Because they make it easy. They make it easy for you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about when I say not having a fixed price in terms of being flexible and working with people. And that when I said part barter and part pay, it's like the same thing. You find something that someone is massively passionate about and that you're passionate about, and let's say they like the deal she just did this morning is basically, yes, this is my normal fee, and if you can match me on this and one of my passions or your passions, that everybody's happy, charities win. I mean, it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to do business, and I do that all the time, and I love it because it isn't just one point of view or one way of doing business. And I've just seen, to me, it's part of why I'm always using terminology of paying it forward the ripple effect, because like what Mary did this morning, that is a massive ripple effect of helping animals, something she loves to do, and also ripple effect and kindness that she's done with the client, that then they also might have that little seed planted where now they might do something like that for somebody else.
Oh, and this has worked over and over. I could give you numerous examples, but there was another one. I had a client, and I had done work for them. Great. And they wanted me to do something else, but it was more in-house. And it was the end of their fiscal year, and they called me, and they said, we really want you, but we just don't have a budget. I said, okay. They said, can you come talk to us? So they're in Denver, so it's about an hour away. So I drove in, sat down with them for about 2 hours, and we looked at what they actually wanted. And I said, I think what you actually want is this, is that right? And they said yes. And the woman was a little embarrassed, and she said, but we don't have a budget for this. And I said, that's okay. I said, do you have any budget at all? And she said, we've got maybe a couple $100s. I said, fine. So for a couple $100, by the time I process that, so this is just, from the business side, from the economist side, by the time I process a couple $100 and it goes through the contracting and my assistant who has to do this processing and my accountant and all this, it's not worth my taking that money for what she wanted me to do. I said, so this is going to be just a waive fee thing, and I'm going to provide a book for everybody. And if you have any money at all, if you would please write the check to this animal rescue group. It's a no-kill shelter. And the other woman at the table, who I knew was involved with animals, jumps up at the table, says, I'm going to go check with our accountant right away. And she ran into the accountant and came back, and she said, we've got $700. When it was just me, it was only $200. But all of a sudden you involve dogs and cats, and now it goes up to $7. So I was thrilled. It wound up fabulous.
Exactly. And I love it when people have that mindset. And that's one of the reasons I've known about you for quite some time. I know a lot of the Florida crowd, and, I know how you're connected to some of the people that I know, and actually Rick has interviewed some of them. And I was like, we really got to get Mary C. Kelly on, because I think, value-wise, I felt very much in alignment with you, because I knew that you got conscious business, and I knew that you got the Go-Giver principles. The Go-Giver book, obviously, and I know that you actually literally practice that. And for me, we interview people. I interview people separately, and on this show, we don't bring a lot of guests on. We just actually, you're our very first guest on this particular show, and for me, it's about bringing on people that literally are in alignment with my values. and what I want to portray out to the world of those values, being the conscious business principles and what teamwork is, what collaboration is. Why people are such scarcity mode about referring people out. They're going to lose business. Oh my God, I'm going to lose business if I don't take the job or if I refer it out, versus having that mindset that when we collaborate, that ripple effect is massively wonderful for everybody, because when you do that, people see that this is part of who you are, and it naturally comes back. The natural laws of giving and receiving are there. They really do come into play when you play in the business world from that place.
I couldn't agree more, and I'll tell you what I've been telling people for the last 3 years. As you know, the economy's been in a little bit of a downward trend. I've got all kinds of technical terms for that, but many people don't feel as though we're really in a true recovery. The stock market's starting to look a little bit better, but we've still got huge burdens in terms of what's happening with our fiscal policy. Sequestering is kicking in. People are going to lose 20% of their weekly, monthly income for a while. The debt ceiling is out of control. We've got some major, major problems. And so business people sometimes get, business owners, business people sometimes get a little bit of that scarcity mentality. And that's a dangerous place to be. So when they start to get scarce, and I have notes for them, I ask them to please look for opportunities of how you're going to help someone else. And they're like, well, but I've got to, no, today I want you to try to find, every day this week, try to find an opportunity to help someone else, profile someone else's business. It doesn't have to cost you money. You can make a comment on their Facebook page. You can say nice things about them online. You can tell your friends to hire them. You can make an active referral on LinkedIn. You can do those social media things, but you can also make introductions. Look for places to promote other people's business. And that gets you out of that scarcity mentality, because you know you have something to offer the marketplace and you are helping other people, and that just grows everybody's economic pie.
You know, it's interesting because the word scarcity sounds an awful lot like the word scared. And if you think about it, I always wonder if they had any origin together, those words, because when people are scared, they're scarce. It's just an interesting mindset. I lived in Argentina for 3 years during one of their worst economic times, when they had about 1,000% inflation at one point. So we're still a cakewalk compared to them. And people there were still making money. They were still hiring. They were still doing well. And they were so used to being in a dump environment as far as economics went, they just went, whatever. And they didn't let it get to them, which is really interesting. We're not used to that, at least not since probably the Great Depression have we really had to deal with it that much. And so a lot of people are, like you said, they're going to that scarce mode, which is probably more scared than scarce, and as a result, they lock down. Look at what happened after 9/11. Everyone locked down. And I just thought, why are we locking down? I mean, the exact should have happened. Keep going, keep moving, keep investing in things. Instead, it was a complete lockdown. Major corporations just froze.
It did. I know we're getting close on time, so I do want to address a few things and have the time to talk about them. And being what Mary just said, I want to address one of the quotes, because I love this quote from your book, which I would also like you to talk about. I'm referring to her 15 ways to grow your business in every economy, which we'll show. We have a slide in there that will come up. But anyways, in chapter 7, it says, say thank you. Silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone. And the author is G.B. Stern on this quote. And you were just talking about that. When we think everything you were just talking about, that last sentence was about the gratitude piece, being gratitude and finding ways to profile other people that you can actually help. And to me, that part is that thank you. And we do not in this culture say thank you enough. We don't thank not just our family people, our spouses, our children, the people that we work with and the people that we do business with.
That's absolutely true. I have a leadership program as well, as you know, and one of the questions I ask my audiences is how many of you sitting here today feel as though you're overappreciated at work? Not one person raises their hand unless their boss happens to be sitting next to them. And then I say, well, how many of you feel overappreciated at home? And I get the same silent answer. We are a nation desperately looking for appreciation. And you have to remember that if you get 100 compliments in a day and one person says something negative to you, what do you remember? You always remember the negative thing. I think we're genetically predisposed toward focusing on the negative, and I'm not sure how that happened, but what that tells us is there's great opportunity if you're one of those people who does make the effort to say thank you. And in my world, what I do is every Friday, every week I go get about 5 gift cards. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they're from or how much they are. They're usually about $10. And what I do is every Friday I write a thank you and I enclose a gift card. And I have to find, the gift cards force me to find 5 people per week that I have to thank. And you'd think one person a day wouldn't be very hard to do, but people are stuck with this when they first start. And then it gets easier once you get into the habit.
And I love that. And so I'd really love for you to talk about a little bit. I know me and you have had a phone conversation. You said you have a new book coming out. So I'd love for you to actually talk a little bit about what you're up to right now in work-wise, a little bit about your new book. Also, I put inside that graphic that we do have 3 ebooks of the 15 ways to grow your business in every economy, and we also have 3 CDs to give away. So I'd also love everybody after this airs to go into the comments section, leave a comment, and give us what was your biggest aha or golden nugget from listening to Mary's conversation. And from that, we will then see which comments are wonderful, and we will get to you about getting you a book or a CD.
I'm more than happy to get some copies out there. The book 15 Ways to Grow Your Business in Every Economy happened because many of my clients I was meeting with on a weekly or every other week basis. And one of them said, you give me stuff every week and I just need it all in one place. And so she said, well, is there any way you could put all this together in a book? And I thought, okay, that doesn't seem that hard. If you've ever written a book, it was a little bit naive of me to think that too. So 15 Ways to Grow Your Business were the 15 principles that I was using for most of my clients in terms of what they needed to do to make their business go forward in the middle of a recession. So things in there include not just the thank yous, but train. If you're not working every day to get better, you're probably falling behind and getting worse. So you need to train every day. You need to stay focused on your goals. You need to make sure that you're clear about your goals. You need to make sure that you're communicating effectively with your clients, with your suppliers, with people who work with you. And one of the main points I make is if you don't know where to start with your business, start in your own community. Get involved. Volunteer. Look for ways to genuinely help other people. And the laws of attraction work. The universe comes back to you, and once you are involved in your community, the community naturally will support you to make your business go forward. And as you know, I am a card-carrying economist. This is what my profession is. This is what I teach. I have profit loss statements available for businesses who are just starting out. I've got scorecards available. They're in the book. The links are in the book. And I have a lot of free resources on my website. There's about 10 of them under free stuff on my website, and it's productiveleaders.com. I know you've been there. And it helps people get their business pieces in order, so you're not just sitting around your house saying, oh gosh, I think I'm in business now and I don't know what to do next. And I'm working out of my house right now this morning because I have Skype and those are my dogs in the background.
Well, what kind of dogs do you have?
I have Portuguese water dogs.
Oh,
no shedding, no drooling, no dander, no smell. And they're quiet and they never bark 23 hours and 59 minutes a day.
But it happens to be that 1 minute, right?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
So on my leadership book, I call it Leadership Lessons from the Dog. And it's not a furry or fluffy book. Yeah. But someone said, well, but you're going to have people who don't like dogs. And I said, that's okay. I don't really need to work with them. It's okay.
That's true. It's sort of funny because we've just been through, and Carly knows this, we went through, both our dogs had to be put down at the same time, just by coincidence. One was very old and the other one had cancer. And we said, let's just put them down together. That was the first time. Even for the doctor, he goes, I've never done 2 at once. I go, neither have we. And then we had to travel for a week or 2, and we came back and adopted 2 German Shepherds from the German Shepherd Rescue.
Yay!
But they were dysfunctional themselves. They hated each other. They were supposed to be brother and sister. We don't think they were, but total hate. And we finally had to give him back, which was just heartbreaking because we thought, oh, this isn't good. He was really sweet, by the way. We actually liked him better than her, but we kept the her, and now we're taking her back and taking another dog from them, an older one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she bit me the other day. That's the first time I've been bitten by a dog in my whole life. And I've been around a lot of dogs, including violent ones, never got bit. And the reason we're taking her back, I said, when a dog bites you consciously, that's not a good thing. She's a darling, but
it's usually not the dog. It's usually the people who had the dog before and taught the dog to be fearful.
That's what
and
we're afraid
angry
of. Yep.
And to react badly.
Yep. And our problem is because we do travel and we have people guest babysit our dogs, and they're really good. I don't trust that she won't bite them. So we can't. But she's a doll, and it's just like, here we go again, 2 in a row. So now we're said, can you have an old one we can just hospice for 2-3 years? And they go, sure. So we don't mind that. That keeps my wife calm.
But again, the problem is what you're seeing with those poor dogs is the product of what people did.
Right, because we have no idea what they did because they were strays. So, and it's just a shame. And we just keep going. And yeah, what do you do with that? That's a tough one. Because you need time with them. You need a lot of time. And to really start getting them out of that. And sometimes they're tweaked that they don't come out of that. We've had female dogs before, especially shepherds. If they're a little tweaked, that's okay. If they're a lot tweaked, then it's a little risky because they've got firepower. So that's why she's going back. And I didn't get bit hard. Actually, I move fast. Otherwise, I would have had I have a 2-inch gash on my arm. It would have been a much bigger gash. So,
and I'll tell you, I am more afraid of Chihuahuas than I am your German Shepherd.
That's what I've heard from a lot of people.
And I will tell you why. Because generally when you have a Shepherd or a Pit or a Dobie or something, people know they have to train them, and they do. But when you have something very cute and very fluffy or, adorable, you tend to not train them because when they bark madly at the door, instead of putting a leash on them, making them sit nicely, waiting for the person to come in, exchanging treats, they get a pat on the head, the leash comes off, and they trot off. No, this little Chihuahua runs to the door, barks their little happy head off, and you pick the dog up, therefore reinforcing the bad behavior.
Sure.
And now you're going to have a dangerous dog, even though it only weighs 3.5 pounds.
Yep,
I agree. So I would also like to address, because to me, I love talking about social media, is this book that you wrote, you do address some of social media. How do you feel conscious business ties into, since we are in a technology world and most of business now is done through social media, how do you think conscious business plays out through social media?
I think there's never been a better platform for social media, for conscious business than social media. And here's why. Because the person you are at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's your true nature. When you are online all the time and people see that you're consistent, that you're reliable, that you show up when you say you're going to do something, when you've got a monthly newsletter that goes out on time, every month, it's called a market indicator in the economic world. You are displaying to the market what your true core foundations are. And social media simply takes those core foundations and sends them out to everyone on social media, showing them what it is you are. And let's face it, most of us, when we get home at night from, let's say you've got a day job and you're trying to organize a soccer trip from Orlando to Jacksonville, and you're going to do that at night. You've got to have an idea of who you can trust, mostly through their websites and their social media interaction, because at night they're closed. So by the time you get home and you start working on this from 7 o'clock till midnight at night, that's what you're faced with. And that's why businesses need to have a great social media platform.
I agree. And one of my, I guess I don't like the word pet peeves, but is speakers, authors, I don't care if you're famous or if you're just someone that's on social media all the time, which a lot of people are, is how you are on stage, how you are, for example, in this video interview, how you are when I shake your hand in person. If you are not that same person on all those platforms and you're not truly authentic, and you're using different masks and faces for the different platforms, it's really going to hurt you. Because I just aired a video by Brian Tracy, and the title of it is "You Are the President." Because we are. People don't get is when we have a product or we have a service, even if we're not the person that they might be directly dealing with, the person actually is still going to look at you. They're going to look at your not just your professional page on Facebook. They're going to look at your personal page. And so I find it's very fascinating to me what people do and don't do on their pages, and what they don't realize can truly harm them by some of the things that they're posting. And it's just, they're just being silly or posting something that may be inappropriate. And I just don't think they really get how vitally important social media is to the business, and that it goes across all platforms, not just your Facebook, page, your business page.
It's like dating. So, if you go out with somebody like 6 times and they're perfect, and then that 7th time they're just monsters, you kind of look back and go, oh gosh, it took me 6 dates to figure that out. You kind of feel silly. The great thing about social media is we get through the 6 dates really fast. You know, because of everything that's going on, whether or not those people are people you want to do business with. You know, do you want to keep having a relationship with those people?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. And have you noticed this? I find this fascinating about social media. People appear in your life through social media in ways that you probably never would have met them before, and yet they all seem to be there at the right time. Mm-hmm. Interesting, I wouldn't say metaphysics, I would just say an interesting set of coincidences can happen via social media that you probably don't get in just regular life. You just have exposure to so many more people.
You do, and it's a huge potential for relationships, not only friendships, but business relationships. I actually wrote a piece actually on Facebook, and Alex Mendozian commented on it because I said, like, the world collaboration, people are, which is strange to me, because it is technology and we're in this world collaboration on social media, a lot of people are in fear of stalkers or with Foursquare, knowing where you are and all these different things. And they come from this mindset of fear versus, yes, be common sense in terms of you're not going to put maybe exactly where you live or you have your stuff go to a business address, for example, okay? However, I've actually flown across the country for a business deal where I've only met someone on Skype or through all the social media. A lot of people are afraid to do that. They're like, how could you go meet someone you've never met before? How can you do business with someone you've never met? And I'm like, well, I'm looking at everything. I'm checking out their Twitter feed. I'm checking all their platforms. I'm looking for the consistency. I'm looking for the personality. And if I hadn't gone across the country to meet them or do that, I wouldn't have had that business deal. Yeah. And so technology is beautiful. In one way, it's bringing us closer together. And in a lot of ways, it's also brought about a lot of fear.
Well, because part of that is, your mom told you never talk to strangers. Mm-hmm. And on social media, that's exactly what you're doing, is you're going out talking to strangers and you're making relationships, you're having business relationships with people that are virtual strangers to you. But we've all got great stories on how that worked out really well. There's probably a few pitfalls, and we've all had our occasional stalkers. Of course, if you're like me, I kind of like attention, so the stalking part doesn't really bother me so much. So I look at that and say, you know what? Everybody's got a place in the universe, even the stalkers, even people who, maybe latch on a little too closely and they're never people we're going to do business with. None of that bothers me. What I love about it is the opportunity to get to know fabulous people engaged in fabulous work that otherwise we would simply never know they existed. Yep. And so for business owners, you can capitalize on that by using many of the free sourcing materials out there. I don't know if you've talked on the show yet about, say, Elance or Fiverr. Fiverr.com and Elance. Mm-hmm. Because of that, that's exactly what you're doing. You're getting to know these people in an online medium, and you're doing business with them. And if you like them and if it works, you have a continuous relationship with them. If they don't, it doesn't work. So do we have time for a quick story on that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So my new book coming out is called Stop the Barking at Work, and it's on communication, and it'll be out in about 6 months. And I needed an original photo of a happy barking dog for the cover. And I went on Elance, and I was getting stock photos and this one woman said, well, I'll go take pictures of my dog tomorrow. And I kind of rolled my eyes, and I thought, well, this is not going to work. She was fabulous. She is a videographer. She's a graphic designer. She took these pictures. I said, I need the background, whited out. She did all that. It's on the new book cover for my next book. And as it turned out, she was in NROTC on the East Coast, and her husband was a Marine, and my husband was a Marine, and it turns out he had been killed in action a year before. And so when she sent me an example of the video, it was of the memorial she'd done with her husband. And then I went, oh gosh, we've got this amazing connection. What are we going to do now that we have this fabulous connection? So I then turned around and hired her to do my video promos, my clips, the ones that go up on YouTube, because I'm not good at those things. And so because of her pictures of her dog and getting to know her and her family and learning about her husband, we're going to take part of the proceeds from the sale of that book and direct those to the Wounded Warrior Project.
That's great.
So it's just amazing how you can develop these very meaningful relationships over something as casual as an Elance account.
Yep, that's wonderful. That's actually wonderful.
It's an amazing story, and we get to
is.
do these things. It's a privilege.
It is. And those are things that touch your heart, which you may never have met her before without this medium.
There's no way.
Yeah.
She's in
Exactly.
Virginia. I never would have met her.
Yeah, that's great. That is, I think, what social media is all about. And you know, if you notice, there's a lot of movements around the whole world of governments trying to shut it down. They're not going to be successful. I think it's too endemic to the culture right now. And people don't want to let it go.
Oh, people can't let it go.
They can't.
My young people say that they would, if they were without their smartphone and without their connections, that they would rather go without food than without their smartphone.
Interesting.
I'm not sure.
It is. It's amazing. And I also what I love about social media or technology in general is so the people that are disabled, the people that are housebound, that cannot leave their homes. Technology has given people that have had no contact.
Sure.
So for me, it's also looking into all the other cultures that it actually has helped. Education in third world countries. I don't know how people cannot appreciate and value what technology has done. Everything's a balance. So yes, there's some things that hasn't been great at technology. Pornography, all these other things are the downside of it. However, if you look at all the positives of technology and social media and Skype and all these things. People who've not seen family, relatives, grandchildren. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing what technology has given us.
It's also given people the opportunity for employment that they never had before.
Sure.
My cartoonist for the next, and I've got another book coming out called Money Smart, and there's a version for civilians, and then I have a military version coming out as well. But my cartoonist for this is in the Ukraine, and fabulous, and there's not the best opportunities where this person lives in their small village, but she hopped on Elance and I found her and looked at the work and I love it, and it's in the new book. So there's employment opportunities if you are, like you said, physically challenged, if you've got some kind of other physical limitation or geographic limitation, that now it's flattening the world. It's really, as Thomas Friedman would say, the world is flat. It's getting flatter because of social media, and it's providing more opportunities for more and more people.
It is. And not for me in particular, because I've had a lot of medical challenges, I've had a lot of surgeries, I really value my social media and what I do, because when I'm recovering, I get to still do my work. I still get to do my shows. I still get to do my interviews. I'm still, going out with my cameraman and doing that. I'm still consulting with my clients via Skype in Africa, in Alaska, in Hawaii, all for my home while I'm recovering.
Carly sleeps 20 minutes a day.
Huh?
You sleep 20 minutes a day.
But seriously, I would be lost without it when I'm going through my recoveries.
Sure.
And I could have the mindset of being really negative and oh my God, another surgery, or and all that mindset, and just lay in bed or wallow. No, I love the fact that I still get to work from my home when I am going through those challenges, and I'm massively grateful for that.
Yep.
Absolutely. And if you had the job that didn't involve social media, you'd have lost income, you'd have, your medical bills would stack up, and, you risk the possibility of not having that job anymore. So it's a fabulous medium.
Yep.
It is,
Mary,
absolutely.
Mary, if you wouldn't mind, one day we'd like to have you come back and talk about our furry friends.
Oh, I'd love that.
That's an important topic. And I read a quote recently, I think it was Gandhi, who said you can judge, I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically you can judge the value of a culture by how it treats its animals.
I think that's absolutely true.
And it's such a true thing. And, people say Americans are messed up, we're this, we're that. I don't think there's a country in the world that treats animals better than we do.
We spend on average $53 billion a year on our animals.
Really, it's that much?
$53 billion.
I believe it.
So I know you have to jump off, Rick, and I definitely want to do that show on animals. As a matter of fact, there was this capture picture where people are really being not really friendly about, where a woman in a third world country has her child on one breast and she has a goat on the other. And it goes to, but realize that if she didn't feed that goat, it was part of her livelihood to have that family thrive. If otherwise the goat would have died. And it is amazing. I just truly I mean, they really value their animals in some third world countries, and in
Sure.
some don't. And also, as Americans, what we do in the United States with the euthanizing of all animals, and I love the no-kill shelters. And I mean, I know Mary's an animal lover. I'm an animal lover. You're an animal lover. So we definitely need to. And I've been asked numerous times to do a show just specifically on animals. So we will do that.
Oh, that'd be fun. Well, Mary, it has been a pleasure having you on, and we're enjoying the books. I think both Carly and I are reading them right now. So
I've already read. Are you kidding me? This thing
you already
is
read it.
highlighted. It's got little pink tags everywhere. We didn't even get into it.
I just got the Kindle edition last week, and I started reading the business one first. So, and the other one, the title was great. Was it 15 lessons from your dog training?
15 ways to grow your business in every economy.
No, there was
Don't
another
forget
one. What was the other
which
one? The other one?
It's Master Your World. It's 10 leadership lessons to improve productivity, profits, and communications from the dog.
From the dog. I love that one. Yeah. Great title.
So anyways, remember everyone, make sure you go to Vimeo, put comments in, let us know some aha moments from anything Mary has said, and we will get you out an ebook or a CD. And I've been truly blessed and honored to know Mary from a circle of friends, and I'm really happy you got to have her on. Thank you, Rick, so much for being my beautiful co-host, and I really look forward to having another conversation with you, Mary.
I can't wait. Thank you both so much. You're so much fun, and I just adore both of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to spend quality time with you.
Thanks, Mary. Likewise. And you have a good one. And for all you guys watching in the chat room, thanks for being there. And if you're watching the recording, please subscribe and tell us what you think. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.